and continued to try. Now, since that first effort, I've been able to accomplish some rather, for myself at least, good goals. But for me, the thrill is not so much in accomplishing the goal as it is in trying to accomplish that goal. Each time I nearly reach a goal I've set for myself, I push it just a little bit higher because the thrill is in trying. We should never let the fear of failing keep us from experiencing the thrill of trying. We should never cease to try to go higher and farther because of fear we will not make it. We will be richer simply because we tried. And also, whether we make it or not, we can experience the thrill which comes from trying. Perhaps you've wanted to do some things but have not attempted them because you were fearful you could not accomplish them. Well, attempt them. Go at them with the best you have. Do not be afraid because you might fail. Make an effort. You will be richly rewarded, and you will also receive the thrill that comes in trying. The thrill of following the carpenter from Galilee is in trying. You know, when you are a Christian, you're always working toward a goal which you know you will never reach. But there is a tremendous thrill in trying to reach that goal. God is continually calling us to be a little bit better, a little bit bigger than we are. Like Paul, we never arrive, but we keep working toward that goal. The man of Galilee himself experienced the thrill of trying. The odds against his accomplishing what he attempted to accomplish in the manner in which he attempted it were infinitely great, but he was willing to try. The thrill, I say again, the thrill is in trying. Ask and you will receive. Seek and you will find. Knock and the door will be open to you. Our fondest dreams, the dreams God has planted in our heart, can come true. And the thrill of life is in trying to make them come true.
This has been My Turn with Don Wildman, a production of the American Family Association.
The Lord looks down from heaven on all mankind to see if there are any who understand, any who seek God. Psalm 14, verse 2.
American Family Radio.
This is Today's Issues. Email your comments to comments@afr.net. Past broadcasts of Today's Issues are available for listening and viewing in the archive at afr.net. Now, back to more of Today's Issues.
Hey, welcome back, everybody, to Today's Issues on the American Family Radio Network. Tim Wildman here with Ed Battagliano and Fred Jackson, and you're listening to AFR. We've been talking about what's happening in Israel, and we've been talking about the protest. We've been talking mostly about the protest in the U.S. on college campuses against Israel and in favor of Hamas, and what this means. And now these protesters, they don't like at all President Biden or his administration, right? Because they side in any way whatsoever with Israel.
Right.
That's right.
Which is kind of odd.
Sending aid, whether it's direct financial funding or military weapons, they look at that as siding with the oppressor.
But wouldn't you say, and this is kind of hard to judge exactly, but wouldn't you say that half the modern Democrat Party today in America are represented by these protesters?
Yes.
I don't know what the percentage is, but it's not small.
Uh-huh.
In other words, they're pro-Hamas. I want to be fair. They're pro-Palestinian.
Right.
And you probably have like some of the squad members that are out now pro-Hamas. So I do want to be fair to the Democratic Party, but that's a huge chunk of the Democratic Party being pro-Palestinian.
So they're at war with themselves. I'm talking about the Democratic Party,
absolutely,
more so than the Republicans are.
Yes,
because you've got you got a lot of Jews who are Democrats.
Yes,
right.
Chuck Schumer,
the leader of the Senate, he's from a New York Jew.
Right.
Right. And here, Debbie Wasserman, in the she's from South Florida, one of the leaders of the Democrat Party. She's a Jew. Well, here you have Jews who are in the same political party with people who hate Jews.
Yes.
Or at least they're supportive of people who hate Jews. It's really an odd situation.
You'd have Jews in the Democratic Party who are liberal, who hold to their liberal beliefs and could be anti-Zionist or be critical of the Israeli state,
Right.
and that's been the case for decades and decades, and they not see any contradiction in that. However, it is increasingly going to be difficult for them because many of those who are supporting a Palestinian state, quote unquote, okay, are those who are openly in support of Hamas. So you're gonna, what Democrat is? You think Chuck Schumer is, or some of these other Jewish members of the Democratic Party are going to take a bold stand and say to a large percentage of their base, Israel has a right to exist and they have a right to defend themselves, even as we're supportive of a two-state solution? It's going to be increasingly difficult for Democratic leaders who are Jewish to make that statement.
I think liberal Jews I would describe as socialist in their thinking. They believe in big government programs.
Right.
That's just a thinking. You actually see it in the establishment of a kibbutz in Israel, that kind of thinking. But now you've got an element in the Democratic Party that is Marxist.
Yes.
And they see the Israeli government as a problem. They see Israel has an interference in what they believe goes back to the critical race theory. We've already discussed that. So that is something. Now, I do believe. Now, we saw in Michigan when the Democrat primary was held there was over 100,000 who didn't vote for Biden.
Right.
But I think on election day they will.
Yes.
Because they're not going to vote for Trump, and I don't think they're going to stay home.
Right.
Because they do believe they can move the Democrat Party into their realm of thinking.
I mean, let's be honest here. Both Donald Trump and Joe Biden are up there in years. If you're a younger Democrat that is pro-Palestinian, who hates Israel, you're a Democrat, you say, I'm going to vote for Joe Biden. He's not going to be around much longer.
Mm-hmm.
The Democratic Party belongs to people like me.
Yes.
So they're not going to, like you said, they're not going to stay home and help Donald Trump get elected or reelected. But they'll bide their time for Biden to leave the scene.
Yes.
Next story.
All right. Well, on Saturday night was the annual White House Correspondents' Dinner in Washington. And Joe Biden was there, and he read a bunch of jokes. Cut number 5.
That's typical.
Cut number 5.
It's been a year since I delivered this speech, and my wife Jill, who's with me tonight, was worried how I do. I told her, don't worry, just like riding a bike. She said, that's what I'm worried about. The 2024 election is in full swing. And yes, age is an issue. I'm a grown man running against a 6-year-old. Age is the only thing we have in common. My vice president actually endorses me.
What did he say right there?
My vice president actually endorsed.
Oh, but a
Mike,
boom.
Mike
Okay.
Pence.
I got you. Okay, I see.
Donald Trump.
I see what he's saying there. That was that's an annual event that it's kind of a roast.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So they, I guess Biden's sort of making fun of himself in a way, and then making fun of Trump too. But it's also for the. Isn't that what they do? Basically, they roast.
They usually have a comedian. I don't know who.
It was some Saturday Night Live guy.
Yes.
And they'll usually poke fun at, they'll poke fun at politicians. And I've seen them poke fun at people who are there at the correspondents' dinner.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, Colin Jost is the SNL guy that you mentioned. Now, he actually took his opportunity to make fun.
He was after Dan Aykroyd, right? Calling jokes. Huh?
Yeah, somewhere in there in the post Dan
Right, okay.
Aykroyd
Yes.
decades.
Well, he actually took a swipe at Donald Trump, cut number 6.
Before I begin tonight, can we just acknowledge how refreshing it is to see a president of the United States at an event that doesn't begin with a bailiff saying all rise?
Well,
That was funny.
yes, those kind of things, they're pretty funny.
Yeah.
And I've
That's
seen
kind of
them.
like Johnny Carson stuff. Right
Yeah,
there.
I've watched some. I never watch it live.
Right.
I'll watch clips. I've seen the people making fun of when Barack Obama was in office and George Bush. This is a yearly thing, and it used to be kind of make fun of the other political party, whatever. But everyone was in on the joke. I mean, it was just good-natured ribbing of the opponent, and so.
All right. What now?
Yeah.
Bailiff all rise. Yeah. Anyway, Joe Conch is a Fox News contributor, and he says the reality on Saturday night, most of the people in the audience, journalists, are also Democrat activists. Cut number 7.
If I'm doing the White House Correspondents' Dinner and I'm on national television, I'm certain I don't have to look down almost the entire time like I'm Karine Jean-Pierre. So he was okay. I feel like, every MC at the White House Correspondents' Dinner are basically the same. They're activist Democrats who will do some benign jokes about Joe Biden, but save the real haymakers for Donald Trump or even this network. Overall, he was okay, but it's exactly what you expect at this point. Put Jimmy Fallon up there, Greg Gutfeld. Let's see some real comedians really hit both sides.
And those are guys on Fox.
Yes. Yes.
Mentioned.
Yeah.
They don't get invited.
No.
To be the MCs.
All right. You're listening to the radio program Today's Issues. Maybe we should do a roast of each other sometime, huh? You think
I think we usually do.
Yeah, you're probably right.
I think it's Trivia Friday, isn't it?
You're probably right. You're listening to Today's Issues on American Family Radio. American Family Radio is what you're listening to. Tim with Ed and Fred. It's Monday, April the 29th. Next story, Fred.
Well, a little bit of a political shocker. Donald Trump getting together with Ron DeSantis for a meeting. First time the two have sat down in a long, long time. And we understand what this is all about is apparently, are you ready for it? Money. That there is a belief there's a real estate investor that is bringing the two men together. And it's believed that this meeting will help DeSantis donors forget about all the nastiness that was said by Donald Trump about DeSantis during the primary race and start donating money to the Donald Trump campaign.
And the Donald Trump campaign is in need of money. I think he's down to $6 or $7 million.
Mm-hmm.
Biden, I think, is up around.
Well, it isn't because of lack of emails. Good night.
You've been getting
Am I the only one?
No, you're not.
Huh?
I get tons. My morning when I first get here to work is spent delete. I mean, I get stuff from people who are running for Congress in Arizona, places I can't even vote.
No, I know, but let me tell you something. I'm getting in my inbox, my email inbox, I get, and I'm not exaggerating, I get 20 emails a day from Donald Trump. I'm not exaggerating.
Just Donald Trump,
just
or
Donald, no, just
Laura
Donald Trump.
and
no, just if I went and showed you my office right now between the time 8:30 when I last checked my email,
yeah,
there's gonna be 10 from Trump, 5 to 10 from Trump himself. Now, these aren't from Donald Trump. These are from other groups that are involved in Republican.
Right.
Okay. But they've got the approval of the Trump campaign to use his name and image. But so I'm going to get how many did I say? I'm going to say 20 in a 24-hour period from Trump. And then I've got Laura Trump. She's about as aggressive as these. I'm going to get 12 or 15 from her. And then Don Jr., he'll come in there with 7 or 8 emails, and then other people who are high profile Republicans, you're also going to get a few of those as well. But anyway,
I'm looking. Representative Mark.
Is this your text?
This is not my text. This is my email.
Okay, your email.
Marjorie Taylor Greene, Representative Mark.
Is this in the last couple of hours?
Yeah. Yes. This is in my my other mailbox. I have some restrictions on what's coming in. Elise Stefanik.
Yeah.
I have your favorite, Senator Kennedy from Louisiana.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
He's emailing too?
Yeah, he's.
What does he say?
And it's Hey Zer, Z-I-R. Here's what I think the trans movement pronouns should be: dumb and dumber. I like that. But anyway, so we got on some list or multiple lists, and
Allison, my wife, she's getting text.
Text.
At least I'm only getting email. You getting text, Brent?
I don't get text.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be a nightmare.
Yes.
So you got text. Brent, step to the microphone. Brent Creeley, our producer. So who are you getting text from?
Just
same group of people I mentioned.
That and just anybody, like Ed mentioned, somebody running in Arizona, somebody running in Florida.
Right.
There's a great feature called
like Carrie Lake or
right.
Yeah, I get some from Carrie Lake as
Carrie
well.
Lake.
There's a great feature called Block. You can block them.
No, I've tried all that.
Really?
Nothing stops them. This is like the Blob.
They're like mutants.
This is like the Blob.
It's
like zombies.
I'll see you after a while and show you.
Okay.
Show you.
I've tried blocking them. I've tried unsubscribing. I've tried all that, and they just come back with more ferocity.
You know why? I've heard this before. I've heard that once you block them, I don't know if this is true or not. Once you block them or attempt to block them, they know they've got a fish on
a live person.
They've got a live person who's trying to block them, so that only encourages them more. Whereas if you ignore them, maybe they'll go away. I don't know. Surely after the campaign's over. And listen, I know campaigns. I know Mr. Trump, I know former President Trump, and they got to have money.
Yes,
I understand that to run a national campaign. It's just that. Just a little bit of overkill here when you're getting 20 a day, 20 requests a day for donations, and that's 20 just from him with his name attached to it. That didn't include Laura and Don Jr.
And
Eric hasn't hit me up.
Eric,
now
you're disappointed, aren't you?
I don't know if he's busy or what's going on
here. Let me just say, and man, I understand, but what you're talking about, a live one. Okay, now, one time here in the last 2 or 3 years, some people will criticize me for this, but I gave to Wikipedia. Okay. They say end of the year they send emails, and I know sometimes they have some liberal leanings, but
you use it.
But I thought I use it a lot. I'm going to contribute. I think I gave them $20.
Okay.
And I thought that would be the end of it.
I know where you're going with this,
but they kept on and on and on. It was like, hey, we got this guy for $20,
right?
And they would, and I mean, it was endless. So I just said, I'm not giving to him ever again. I thought I would do the right thing. I used this free service,
right? Sure.
And but man, it just. Whew.
Is Fred? Are you saying Trump is behind in money?
$6 million isn't much. They've been money's been spent on legal fees,
right?
All of that sort of thing.
But Trump's a billionaire, a multi-billionaire.
Well,
I'd give my own money
in value, real estate values and that sort of thing. But he argues he doesn't have that much cash. Who knows for sure?
Well, and eventually he probably will start, I guess, using his own money for his campaign. But
I mean, he's not a politician, but he's been pretty smart. Every day before he goes into court, the latest trial in New York, before he goes in, he makes a speech. And then when he comes out, he makes another speech. So all of that just is free airtime for him. So he's getting that for free. He goes, I'm not sure if somebody is arranged, but he's held rallies out on the sidewalk with various, like last week it was with a bunch of union guys. And so that gets plastered over the media, at least friendly media, to Donald Trump. So he's getting a lot of freebies out of this. It hasn't hurt. There's this CNN SSRS poll that came out, I guess, on the weekend, and it shows him up 6 points over Joe Biden.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like Trump magic. I think a lot of it has to do with, he says he's oppressed by a corrupt judicial system. It certainly looks that way, and so people are rallying to his cause.
I just don't know why he would need to meet with Governor DeSantis. Are they talking about him being the VP?
No. I think the speculation is he's trying to tap into the funding that DeSantis had. DeSantis did not have trouble raising money, I don't think. He had in 2022, DeSantis had raised more than $217 million to run for re-election as governor. And I think that what Trump is doing is trying to patch things up, perhaps with DeSantis, but trying to talk DeSantis into talking to his donors, his donor base, to try to get them to be giving to the Trump campaign. Biden raised in March $90 million, and this has been very difficult, I think, for Trump.
That'd be a weird meeting between Governor DeSantis and former President Trump, because so I can't imagine Donald Trump begging for anything, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I can't imagine Governor DeSantis being happy about meeting with a guy who's called him names for a year and a half. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. I don't know what kind of meeting they would have. Also, I'm wondering, why does Donald Trump need to, is Governor DeSantis the gatekeeper of these big donors? I don't think so. That they're their own people. Why not go directly to them?
Well, I don't know. All we can know is that they did meet yesterday in Miami. So one insider, this is Bloomberg News, said Trump and DeSantis met on Sunday to discuss the possibility of tapping DeSantis's donor network, according to a person familiar with the matter. I don't know if that's accurate or not, but there may be donors who are loyal to Ron DeSantis, who don't like the way he was treated by then candidate Trump, and who would not give unless DeSantis said, hey, look, we got to get behind the
So how would Trump do that? I'm not to argue with you. I agree. I agree with what's being reported. I'm just wondering, how does this meeting go?
Well,
Trump, what's up, man? How's it going, DeSanctimonious? What's been up?
Yeah. No, I go ahead.
I just think Trump would say, hey, it's coming down. It's either me or Joe Biden. What do you want, Governor DeSantis?
I want access to your money pipeline. Sanctimonious.
I think it's just as basic as that.
Well, it could be that Ron DeSantis, governor of Florida, does have his own mailing list, so to speak, of supporters nationally even, who gave to his campaign, who supported his run for presidency, who he's holding on to in case he wants to run in 2028. And maybe former President Trump wants DeSantis to use that to raise money for Trump. Right?
Well, listen, we've remarked many times on this show when it was up in the air who was going to be the nominee for the Republican Party, and Donald Trump is the presumptive nominee. He's not officially the nominee until the convention. But we've said many times it's not helping former President Trump to insult the candidate, and thus those who support the candidate, Ron DeSantis, whose voters you need and whose support you need, Ron DeSantis' support, between the convention and the general election. We've said that many times.
Right.
It may be that part of what President Trump is doing is to try to patch, however he does that, patch things up and to get Ron DeSantis on board, coming out and supporting the Trump campaign so that those who voted for DeSantis will support Trump in November.
Well, this is an interesting story from Yahoo News. It says in 2022, DeSantis raised more than $217 million for his gubernatorial reelection. So if Trump only has $6.8 million in the bank,
raised how much?
$217 million. DeSantis.
That was for his reelection.
Just for a governor's race?
Right.
Yes.
Wow.
So
and you're saying that if the Trump campaign is down to $6.8 million.
$6.8 million.
I wonder if, well, that's interesting. Okay.
Well, now this says as of April 21, Trump had just $6.8 million in the accounts he's been using to fund his lawyers. That could drive him to tap funds from other sources to cover upcoming bills and bankroll his campaign. So there's other money out there, but the 6.8 is in the accounts he's using to fight
this
legal
paying,
cases.
I got mixed feelings about this paying lawyers out of campaign finance money. People give money to a campaign to promote the campaign. They give money to say, I want to pay lawyers' fees for a candidate. I guess they do, or they wouldn't give. But, I mean, that's not very appealing to me as a prospective donor, is to say, hey, give me money so I can pay the lawyers. Now, I guess the other side of the argument would be, yeah, you're paying lawyers because they're persecuting your candidate.
Right.
Yes.
And you got to stand with your candidate, right?
Right.
Yes.
And if it means paying lawyers' fees, that's part of it. I understand that argument too, but I'm just saying that doesn't appeal to me as a lasting message to get more donors to give multiple times to say, hey, help me keep paying my lawyers. Because these lawyers that Trump's having to pay, I can only imagine they're probably getting 5 times what they would normally get because they know that they've got a situation where what is Trump going to do? Say no, I'm not paying that. Oh, really? Well, good luck representing yourself.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, listen, I think this is part of the calculus, the calculation that went into prosecuting Trump. Not only are they hoping to get him off ballots and get him in prison, but and put a gag order. He can't campaign while he's sitting in a courtroom, but also it causes him to use campaign funds to defend himself in court that might otherwise been used for campaign ads.
And I would argue that these lawyers that are Trump's hiring can charge about whatever they want.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Huh?
Yeah.
For the reasons I just mentioned. Mm-hmm. He's in a very vulnerable position. What's he going to do? Say no?
Right.
Because you got to have the top lawyers to be able to fight these cases.
Yep.
All right, we'll be back momentarily with more. I'm going to go check my email, see how many Donald Trump email requests for funding I've got in the last hour. We'll be back in a minute. Stay with me.
The views and opinions expressed in this broadcast may not necessarily reflect those of the American Family Association or American Family Radio.
Faith, family, freedom. American Family Radio.
There's a lot happening around us. That's why Christians need to stand strong on family values and morality. Hi, I'm Ray Rooney, editor of The Stand, a blog from the American Family Association. The Stand has timely, carefully written articles on relevant cultural issues that you can quickly forward to others. Visit afa.net/The Stand.
This is American Family Radio, a listener-supported ministry of the American Family Association.
For American Family News, I'm Chris Woodward. A ceasefire between Israel and Hamas could be on the horizon, according to U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken. Fox's Jeff Paul has details from Tel Aviv.
U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said today that the only thing standing in the way of the people of Gaza and a ceasefire right now is Hamas. Now, he made those comments while speaking in Saudi Arabia during a special meeting of the World Economic Forum in Riyadh, saying that Israel had made an extraordinarily generous offer. While Blinken didn't go into specifics, there are reports that Israel has offered to accept fewer than 40 of the remaining 133 hostages Hamas kidnapped back on October 7th. In exchange, Israel would then free several jailed Palestinians. Now, following that, there would be a period of sustained calm in the war.
Blinken is also set to visit Israel and Jordan this week to discuss the ongoing tensions in the region. A conservative activist says the anti-Semitic protesters on college campuses spring from the same diseased root as the Hitler Youth. Chad Groening has this story.
To historians, protests in places like Columbia University in New York City have a sense of déjà vu. Adolf Hitler organized and radicalized German youth, indoctrinating them in Nazi ideology from elementary school to college. Today, American children at every level are being indoctrinated in the leftist ideologies of critical race theory, so-called diversity, equity, and inclusion, and gender theory. Gary Bowers, chairman of the Campaign for Working Families, who has served on the board of Christians United for Israel.
First of all, a reminder of what a Nazi is. Nazi is an acronym for National Socialists. The Nazis were socialists. So are half of these students and probably all of their professors.
And Bowers says the Nazi youth had one main thing that they were taught,
which was the Jews were the source of all evil. And the Nazi youth were sent out to beat Jews up, to boycott Jewish businesses, to attack synagogues and churches, by the way. That's the same thing these demonstrators have been taught. They hate Jews. They say the Jews are the source of all evil.
Bauer says this is clearly a spiritual battle, and the time when Christians can sit comfortably in our churches is over. We must confront this evil and must stand with Israel. I'm Chad Groening.
Tornadoes have impacted Nebraska and parts of the Midwest. Fox Weather's Nicole Valdez reports on the impact in the Elkhorn neighborhood of Omaha, Nebraska.
A miracle here in Elkhorn, Nebraska. No one lost their life after that monster tornado tore through this community, leaving hundreds of families with nowhere to go. Nebraska Governor Jim Pillen declaring a state of emergency for Lancaster, Washington, and right here in Douglas County, three of the hardest hit counties across the Husker State, to unlock additional resources for those families who now need all the help they can get to recover. He spent the weekend in Elkhorn talking to those families, reliving the terrifying day that was for so many who took shelter in their basement or who got in their cars to outrun these damaging twisters.
At least 5 people are reported dead across multiple states, but that number is expected to rise. The last surviving Medal of Honor recipient from the Korean War will lie in the Capitol Rotunda today. Fox's Jared Halpern has more from Washington.
Colonel Ralph Puckett died earlier this month at 97 years old. He was the last remaining living veteran awarded the Medal of Honor for heroism and bravery during the Korean War. President Biden awarded the honor to Puckett in 2021. Puckett will lie in honor today in the rotunda of the U.S. Capitol. House Speaker Mike Johnson and Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer say his extraordinary valor represents the best of the 1.7 million Americans who left home to fight for freedom in the Korean War.
In final news, the new film Unsung Hero finished in second place at the weekend box office. The film stars people such as Candace Cameron Bure and tells the story of the family that produced Christian artist King and Country and Rebecca St. James. Find more news on AFN.net.
So I just joined 1 Million Moms. But I know I should have done it a few years ago when you sent your email about the trash in the media, but it just didn't seem to be worth it then. So what? Oh my goodness, have you seen that preview? It's pornographic.
Media isn't going to get better until concerned consumers get involved. 1 Million Moms has been calling on us to do just that for 14 years, with many successes along the way. When you see something, say something at 1millionmoms.com. That's 1millionmoms.com.
Today's Issues continues on AFR with your host, Tim Wildman, president of the American Family Association.
Hey, welcome back, everybody, to today's Issues on the American Family Radio Network for this Monday, April the 29th, 2024. Tim Wildman with Ed Battagliano, and now Steve Paisley-Jordahl joins us. Good morning, Steve.
Good morning, everybody.
So, Steve.
Yes, sir.
By the way, you are rocking the Paisley.
Yeah, my wife got me this shirt over the weekend.
I like it.
Keep your reputation alive.
Yeah,
Honestly, I didn't know that they still made Paisley shirts, but
I don't know if it's not a retro, but
nice color scheme.
Yeah, thank you.
By the way, before we start the news that you've brought, I was just checking headlines. This is from the Express. I don't know if that's a
Polar?
No, I don't know. Maybe a British website. But anyway, winning with bullets, Mexico enduring deadliest election ever as 30 politicians murdered. I don't know how many politicians there are running, but that's a lot. 77 instances saw politicians threatened, and 11 were kidnappings. So as bad as you think it is in this country, folks.
Just south of us,
they're killing each other.
So much for my light and breezy intro.
Yes, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I just saw that. And I just thought that's just stunning.
Don't the drug cartels have a lot of power
Right.
in Mexico?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. But setting that aside, Steve, what would you like to open with?
I was just going to – I had a great weekend. I was invited to go to Atlanta to sing with the Gwinnett Symphony and Chorus. We did we did Mozart's Requiem.
No, you didn't.
We did.
The Requiem?
The Requiem. It's a funeral mass. It's Catholic.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. Well,
How come they never call me and ask me to go?
I don't know. I can drop a hint. This is what we sound like. Let me give you about 12 seconds worth of this. This is us. This is the actual performance from Sunday afternoon. Cut 10.
That's amazing. Which one was you?
I was the one at the end that was.
That is really.
How many voices
beautiful.
in that choir?
It's about 50.
Okay, now were y'all all from the Columbus, Mississippi area?
No, this was in Atlanta, Georgia.
So you come from different parts of the country?
No, they're all in Atlanta, and I just was invited by the director, a friend of mine who knows.
Oh, okay. Would you sing normally with a choir?
I do. I sing in Columbus.
Right.
But I have a friend in Atlanta.
Oh, they invited you to join the choir for that?
Yeah, they were looking for.
Did you know that song before you
had sung it before a while back. I had to put a lot of work in to get it ready.
So Beethoven's what now?
It's Mozart.
Mozart.
And it's his Requiem.
I have that on my Spotify.
If you've ever seen the movie Amadeus?
I've never.
I remember that. That's like 20 years ago, right?
Yeah, it was. And there's a scene in Amadeus where Mozart is on his deathbed and he is telling Salieri he's transcribing it to him. Start with this note. Now do this. Now do this. And that was part of the Requiem. He wrote it
while he was on his deathbed.
Yeah, he died fairly young.
What have you done with your life, Ed?
I know, right?
Well, that is the kind of thing I think sometimes when you look at these people who are geniuses and you just go, wow.
I know, right?
I'm planning on watching Game 5 of the hockey playoffs. These guys are changing the world with beautiful music.
Meanwhile, George Washington Carver discovers 173 things to do with peanut butter.
That's right, with peanuts. And I'm sitting here going,
and you're a zombie on your TV watching hockey.
Do not put coleslaw on my hot dog. That you put it on a chicken sandwich or maybe a burger, but not a hot dog.
Oh me, yeah.
Steve, you got a wonderful voice.
Yeah,
and is that a choral? Is that the right way to say it?
Yes, it's a choral piece.
Choral. I mean, what do you call the group? Is it a choir or?
It's a chorus.
Chorus.
It's a symphony chorus. Yeah.
All right.
And it was a Gwinnett County.
Gwinnett, is that a county? It's a town.
It's a county.
It's maybe so it's
Gwinnett, Greater Atlanta area.
Yes, it's an Atlanta suburb.
The area where you don't normally get carjacked.
No, it's
out of the carjacking zone.
It's a nice neighborhood. Yeah.
Yes.
Anyway, well played.
Thank you.
So how about those Bruins?
Game 5 tonight.
No, tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night. Sorry. All right, Steve, bring forth unto us.
Let me run this one by you because this one took me a little bit by surprise. I ran it past our own John Riley, and he was a little skeptical of it. But Axios, which is a credible news organization, is reporting this. A new Israeli proposal for a possible hostage deal with Hamas includes a willingness to discuss the, quote, restoration of sustainable calm in Gaza after an initial release of hostages on humanitarian grounds, according to two Israeli officials who said this to Axios. They say it's the first time since October 7th attack on Israel by Hamas that Israeli leaders have suggested that they are open to discussing an end to the war in Gaza as part of a hostage deal. Now, we have heard relentlessly from Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu that they are not stopping this thing until Hamas is history. So I don't know. What do you make of this?
Well, I will say this, that in a demonically crafty way, Hamas made sure as they, and this is all planned out, as they were planning the slaughter of innocent men, women, and children in Israel, they were obviously also planning to take lots of hostages in case they needed to preserve themselves by threatening to kill the hostages. And the pressure on Benjamin Netanyahu and those who want to, within the Israeli government, who want to prosecute this war until Hamas is completely and utterly defeated, the pressure on Netanyahu must be enormous to make a deal to save these hostages. I don't know whether this is a true story or whether it or what it is, but it sounds reasonable to me that Hamas is holding back those hostages in order to preserve their lives and their existence. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Because that's the craftiness, and again, I say demonic craftiness, using human beings in this way to try to keep yourself alive as a terrorist organization when the walls are closing in.
Yeah. Okay, you mean to give me my opinion?
I do. I have another question for you after you.
Okay, this is just my opinion.
Yeah.
Of this matter you're asking about, without knowledge of what the Israeli Defense Forces know or Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu knows, just looking at it from our one person here in the U.S. with some understanding of the region, and I have traveled there many, many times, I would say Israel's made their point. And their point being, and they wanted to do more than make their point. They wanted to tactically eradicate Hamas as a threatening organization with weapons in Israel. Now, I don't know whether they've completely done that or not, but the devastation that they've wreaked on Gaza.
Oh, wreaked. Havoc wreaked.
Okay, havoc wreaked on Gaza is a profound statement of might and power and dominance. Okay, so I would think the psychology here is, if you're Hamas, those Palestinian people, they're going to be dealing with this for decades. Okay, I'm talking about how to recover from what's happened in Gaza if they're going to stay there in Gaza.
Israel or the
Palestinians?
Yeah.
Palestinians, because they're become refugees basically in southern Gaza, down in Rafah. Is that what?
Rafah. Yeah.
You got a lot of people packed in there. It's a bad situation from a humanitarian point of view. Okay.
Right.
But if I were Israel, I would say, listen, we're going to relent right now. We could go further if we wanted to. We have the capability of going further if we wanted to. We will relent for now in the name of hopefully peace. But let me just tell you something. If Hamas starts firing rockets at us again, or threatens us in any way, I say threatens, takes action against our people in any way that's threatening, we will be back, to borrow from Arnold Schwarzenegger, and we will completely and utterly annihilate Gaza, period. Okay? what that looks like, you don't have to describe it. You just say things are bad. Well, you think we've delivered a pounding now? You wait until if this kind of thing happens again. So does that?
Yeah.
To your point, I see where the part of the reason that makes sense is because
now you give us our hostages back.
Right.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You give us our hostages back by Saturday, or what I've just described to you is all bets are off.
But part of the reason that I think that makes sense is because they can get rid of Hamas, the insurgents, and the weapons. They've trained their children to become Hamas when they grow up. So you're not getting
Come
rid
about the
of
Palestinians.
The Palestinians have trained their children.
It's an ideology that's not going away.
It is not going away. What do you think? Here's the question I have. When they slaughtered all these Israelis on October 7th, do you think they anticipated what's going on American campuses and around the world with support? All of a sudden, people who could never have found Gaza on a map before now think it's the cause celeb, and they have all kinds of support now. I have a story here that they're going to allow Palestinian athletes in the Olympics in Paris. Did they
They're not even a
anticipate that?
country.
Which one are you wanting me to respond to?
Do you think that they anticipated the support, the pushback against Israel?
No, I think not on American campuses. I think what Hamas was hoping for was a widespread Arab war against Israel.
Provoke a war.
And with the hopes that if that didn't happen and it was strung out, that they would get enough support from Europe to contain to prevent Israel from successfully wiping Hamas out. I don't think anybody foresaw. I did not foresee this kind of thing happening on college campuses.
It angers me to no end to think, and don't mistake what I'm saying here, but on 9/11 was the best thing that ever happened to Arab terrorists, and the October 7th was the best thing that ever happened to Hamas. No one knew. I mean, no one paid attention before this. They slaughter a ton of Israeli citizens, and all of a sudden they're called celeb. What is wrong with this world?
Yeah,
well, I know the answer to that. But
well, I'll tell you what they're going to tell you. I don't agree with it. They're going to tell you that Israel has made life miserable for the Arabs in Palestine, in Gaza, and it was only a matter of time before that powder keg exploded, and it exploded on October 7th. And hate that it happened. They might even, their supporters may not even say hate that it happened. They would tell you justice was served when these Israelis were murdered, because that's the feeling that those in Gaza have been feeling for a long time. I'm just going to tell you what they'll say.
Yeah. I've been seeing interviews with college students who, when asked directly, "What are you protesting?" They're
they
protesting
don't know.
Israel, but they have no idea about the geopolitical sense. It is the oppressors against the oppressed,
DEI,
and that's all you
that
need
what
to
you call
know. All they need to know in order to pick a side.
Critical race theory.
Yeah.
It's critical race theory.
Intersectionality, etc.
Yeah.
What do you think about this? So the International Olympic Committee, Thomas Bach, has said he expects to invite 6 to 8 Palestinians to compete in the Olympics in Paris, regardless of whether they have qualified or not. Now, Palestinian athletes have taken part in the Olympics since 1996, but they've always had to qualify in some sort. But now they're welcome.
You got to have a country to represent. Are they representing Israel?
No, they fly their own flag, the Palestinian flag.
So is there precedent for the Olympic Committee accepting people from non-countries?
Here's what the precedent is this is, people are pointing out now, you're not allowing Russia to compete because they invaded Ukraine. So they have some qualifications. They asked Thomas Bach, the IOC chair, this. He dismissed suggestions that the IOC has treated Russia differently over its invasion of Ukraine compared with Israel and the war in Gaza. The Russia was suspended from international sports after its invasion of Ukraine. In order to take part in the Paris Games, they are required to have an athlete is required to have never publicly supported the war against Ukraine and not be employed by the military or security services. So why that?
Do you think that let me ask you this. Do you think, I'm kind of torn on this question of whether or not the Olympic Committee should be deciding which countries can and cannot send send athletes based on whatever the Olympic Committee's view of the correct politics of the war our world is.
It's their games.
Huh?
It's their games.
It's a
I know, but I mean, huh?
That's a private organization, right?
The Olympics?
The
IOC,
International
it's
Olympic Committee.
Olympic Committee.
An NGO or it's not a government entity.
Listen, I in terms of my opinion is what we see going on around the world is we see almost like another Cold War. It used to be the free West and Western ideals against the Soviet Union and its satellite nations and its ideology. And now that has kind of boiled down to the free West and Democratic or Republican ideals and globalism. And it's across national borders. That's why I think you pointed out this morning in our story meeting, you showed us a sign.
Yeah.
Where was that? That was supporting Donald Trump.
That was
was it Bulgaria or anyway, it was one of the Eastern European countries that have come out of communism because of the collapse of the Soviet Union. And why would you see support for Donald Trump in Eastern Europe? Well, it's because you have people in Poland, people in Hungary who see the globalists in the United Nations. They see the globalists in the United States, in the United Kingdom, Western Europe, and the ideology of globalism is a threat to freedom-loving people everywhere. And it's almost like the world is dividing into those two sides, and it runs across national boundaries. And so you have the International Olympic Committee, who appears to be joining. You have corporations joining in this big divide.
Right.
Okay.
It's really pretty astonishing.
I looked up Iran Olympics 2024. They're in the Olympics.
Yeah.
So Marsha Blackburn, senator from Tennessee, has lobbied the Olympic Committee to deny Iran participation. I don't think she's been successful. Okay, so to my question, Iran just sent a bunch of missiles and drones into Israel to try to murder people, innocent civilians. Oh, should we be for banning them?
North Korea, is scheduled to compete at the 2024 Summer Olympics in Paris.
So why should Russia be banned?
Technically, I think the Olympics don't want somebody who is in a declared war. Iran hasn't declared war, neither has North Korea. The DNA of the Olympics, back in the Greek days, they say that they declared a truce for whatever wars they were in to compete in the games. So they competed as, friendly competition, and then they went back to war after the games were over. I think now the IOC is more like the UN.
But Israel and the Palestinians are in a war.
Yes.
So is Israel banned?
No, I don't know. Israel's not banned.
Yeah. Well, listen,
he just says.
I understand it.
Thomas Bach just says, "Oh no, Israel and the Palestinian war is completely different."
Right.
So I don't know
how. I would say everybody's going to say that about every war.
Right.
Next story, Steve.
All right. So President Biden they made a change at the White House.
Really?
Yes. So whenever President Biden is going to go somewhere,
does he know this?
He might not. Actually,
he may have technically authorized it, but he doesn't know about it.
It was his idea. So whenever you see him taking off, the process is he walks from the White House to the helicopter, which is called Marine One. Marine One flies to Joint Base Andrews, where he gets on Air Force One and then flies wherever he's going. Well, the stroll out to Marine One, if you ever seen Biden walking alone, it's a strange gait. It's hard to figure out what's wrong with it. But
I'll tell you what it is. I'm just going to be bluntly honest about this, and I mean no disrespect because I'll probably be there one day. It's the old man shuffle. That's what Biden's got going on.
It seems stiff.
I think I'm not an orthopedic doctor, or physical therapist, but I'm guessing when you start to shuffle like that, it's meant to protect you from falling.
Yes.
Yeah.
Your body is making this adjustment to make it a shorter stride than a normal walk so that you can balance yourself.
Well,
I'm guessing that was it. That's it.
The White House thinks that him walking by himself is drawing attention to his halting and stiff gait, as Axios puts it. So they have decided now whenever he walks out to the Marine One, he's going to be surrounded by aides or political allies or whatever. They're going to shield him from the press. Like, that's going to be transparent. No one was ever going to figure that one out, right?
So they don't want voters to be reminded every time the president exits the helicopter or Air Force One that this guy is old and incompetent for the job. So they want to try to shield him from that. Listen, this gate you're talking about, that shuffle, and I'm not trying to make a joke here. When my kids were little and there were Legos around, in the middle of the night, I did that shuffle, going to the refrigerator.
The Lego shuffle?
The Lego shuffle. I did not pick my feet up and put them down. I slid my feet to keep from stepping on something.
If you hit the wrong logo, it sets off pain.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, big time.
So
yes,
I understand that. That makes sense that the body
and a
does
dog
that.
on it.
Oh,
yeah.
Or
worse.
If you're lucky. That's all I'll say. Let's move on.
All right. Okay. Finally, the U.S. Mint has decided. They've done these quarters where
the U.S. what?
Mint.
Oh, M-I-N-T.
M-I-N-T that puts the coins, puts out the coins.
Right.
They've had series of quarters with states and public parks. Well, they're doing dollar coins.
Okay.
And they're doing the states. And so California's turn is up. And Gavin Newsom, the governor there, has decided he wants to ask Californians their idea. What should we commemorate about our state? Should it be Silicon Valley, the tech? Should it be Hollywood?
Bigfoot?
Should it be the beautiful, Sierra Nevadas? What should we do? Well, what he's getting is, how about homeless encampments and poop on the streets of San Francisco?
Oh man, that's disgusting.
Hey, can I? That's funny. You're going to get that kind of thing in any state. But you mentioned the Mint. I just want to. Can I put my conspiracy hat on here for a second?
Why not?
We got a little bit of time, and then I'll pitch it back to Steve because you usually have something good to close.
We got about a minute to go, so you go.
That's my something. So
that's
go
your
ahead,
something.
close it out.
All right. So my wife and I the other day we got to go into Tupelo. I took the day off on Thursday. By the way, I'll probably take this Thursday off too. I'm just letting you know.
Okay.
Because I got to get my mulch out, folks. I got to get yard work done. Okay. So we had to go do some things. So we stopped by a restaurant. I won't say what it is here, but it's nearby. And on the door it says we are a cashless business. And so I walked in and I happened to have some cash on me for a change. I said, "You guys don't take cash?" No. And I'm just telling you, I don't like businesses going cashless because it makes me think next step is
revelation. Here we come.
Yeah, it is the government eliminating cash completely, cashless society, and then they've got you.
Yeah.
All right. So anyway, that's what I just wanted to say.
So
I
you
didn't
think
like
this
that.
maybe watch and see if this becomes a trend?
Yeah. The business door on the door. We don't take cash.
All right. Wow. All right, Steve. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Thanks to Ed, Fred, Brent Creeley, our producer. That's all. That's all I have to thank today. We'll see
and you, our listeners.
See you tomorrow.
And my father, your great-grandfather, fought in World War II.
Really?
He was a gunner on the big ship out in the Pacific Ocean.
Wow.
Your great-grandmother did her part, too.
Was she